Hello, Jessica Sanchez here with another Second Life tutorial. And in this tutorial, we're going to take a look at the Features tab in the Edit window. So I'm going to go ahead and res a prim, and here's my prim. And the Feature tab is actually the third one, the third tab on the Edit window, or the middle tab actually. The Features tab contains options for primitive properties, flexible path, and light. You may use this feature if you want your object to be flexible, like a flag flapping in the wind, or if you want it to emit light, like a light bulb. Playing around with these features will help you to see how the object reacts to these changes. So, let's begin by looking at the flexible path. If I check it, when checked, the object becomes flexible. And just to show you what I mean, I'm going to go ahead and move this object. And notice when I move it, how bendy it is, because it's based on these 8 properties here. If I go to a traditional prim, if I move it, notice it stays rigid. But applying the flexible path automatically has set it to flexible. The base of the unrotated object stays fixed while the rest moves. So the bottom part of your prim, when you res it, that bottom part is your base. So if you're rotated, your base also moves. So here in this case, let me try making it bigger so you can see what I mean. I'm going to make it a little bit wider too. Notice the bottom stays rigid. That's the base. Now let me rotate it. And notice, again, the base stays rigid. Let's take a look at the other options. Softness. Softness basically controls how bendy the object is, and the range is from 0 to 3. So 0, which means not so bendy, kind of rigid, to 3, which is very bendy. Very bendy. I'm going to go back to 2, which is the default option. Gravity controls how hard gravity pulls downward on the object. Negative values pull up. So the range is from -10 to +10. Let's take a look at what -10 does. So I'm going to type that. And it goes all the way up. So it has the opposite effect of gravity. Then if I put 10, then gravity is pulling down hard on the object. So if I go maybe say 1, it's not pulling as hard, but it's still pulling. So if I put 0, it has no effect on my prim. Gravity has no effect on my prim. Drag. Drag controls how much friction the object appears to have when moved. Range is from 0 to 10. So here, if I do 5, let's see how much, it's not much movement, but if I go 0, there's 0 drag. Notice how it's more flapping, it has more of a flap. Whereas if I made it drag 10, it has less of a flap. Wind. Wind controls how much the object bends in response to local map region winds. And so if we had region winds, I'm going to say 5. Then the wind's actually pulling it to the north actually of our map. So you'll see a slight movement. Maybe that's too strong. Maybe I'd want to do 2. And maybe gravity can be 0.5 or 0.05. So it's tilted slightly down. Tension. Tension controls how much force is tugging the object away from its base, like pulling it away from its base. So the range is from 0 to 10, and by default it's 1. And if I put it to 10, that means like as if someone was on the other side pulling it as hard as they can from the base. So it'll actually make your flag go straight. And so there you go. That's 10. I'm going to put it back to 1. All right. Force X, Y, and Z controls how much force is applied in that specified direction. Ranges from -10 to 10. So you can play around to see what happens if you do that. So for example, -10. That's kind of the same thing as gravity almost looks like, so with the opposite effect. Light. If you want light, you can select it. You can change the color of the light. You can't really see it very much because of the fact that our environment is midday all the time. So if you saw it at midnight, you might see the effect. Intensity, how bright the light is. So you can change the value. So it's at its max by default. Radius, the distance the light extends in meters. So right now it's 10 meters. Maybe I don't want the light to go 10 meters. Maybe I want to let it emit to 3 meters. Fall off is how fast light fades from the center. So you can change the value there. Max value is 2, the min value is 0. And that's the feature tab.